This week on the podcast, talking about online gaming, giving, and ExtraLife.org. This is Using the Whole Whale, a podcast that brings you stories of data and technology in the nonprofit world. My name is George Weiner, your host and the chief whaler of WholeWhale.com. Thanks for joining us. Hello, Lou. Do I have you?
You do. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our little chat today.
Well, let's roll right into it. For everyone listening, this is Lou Adducci. I'm going to get this right, Lou. Watch this. Senior Manager of Community of ExtraLife for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals.
So many layers there.
and he sticks the landing. Lou, I reached out because I am fascinated with your work with ExtraLife. Why don't we move right into that? What is ExtraLife? What does it do?
So ExtraLife is a way for gamers to play games and raise money for their local children's hospital. If you think of it like a walkathon or a runathon or any sort of DIY peer-to-peer fundraising program, you remove out kind of the endurance portion of it and you put in gaming, and whether it's video games or tabletop games or kickball, you ask friends and family to celebrate with you on a dedicated day of play. They support you throughout that endeavor, and all the money that's raised stays local at a local Children's Miracle Network hospital.
Okay, so for those listening, why would somebody watch somebody play a game? And more or less on top of that, why would somebody donate money to somebody playing a game?
Right? I mean, trust me, it's a question that we ask, and we're obviously grateful for it because it's been an incredible success for us. But I think there's an interactivity when it comes to the whole live streaming portion of gaming in general today. So the primary platform that most folks use is going to be Twitch, and it's a platform where they do exactly that, where people, they go, they share their screen, they interact with the audience, and people watch them play games. I think if you compare it to like watching any sort of sporting event, right? You're not actually playing the game, but you're watching someone else play the game. One of the main differences here, though, is going to be that personality, that person hosting that stream, that person talking with their audience, with their chat. And that's where we begin to create this world of what we call broadcasters or content creators or influencers. And those folks really can inspire their online communities, and they are motivated to get on board with whatever they're doing. So in the case for us, when we ask them to go ahead and do a live stream and ask for donations to benefit their local children's hospital, that call to action is pretty powerful for that community, and it allows that broadcaster, that content creator, that personality to really leverage their community and their clout, if you will, their online clout, to raise funds for a pretty incredible cause.
So Twitch sounds like it's like a YouTube, but for streaming live. Is it live gaming?
Yeah, that's exactly the case. YouTube obviously has its own iteration where you can live stream and have almost a faux conversation, an interaction with the people on the live stream. Twitch is just that, and Twitch has, I think it's billions of views each month with people playing games for their audiences. More often than not, they're doing it out of enjoyment. A lot of people make a profession out of this, believe it or not. And then there is a subsection of folks somewhere between the professionals and the amateurs who do it for charity. And those are the folks who drive a lot of eyes on what we do through ExtraLife and Children's Miracle Network hospitals.
Okay, so this sounds like it's a fringe thing, and maybe you have like a few people playing, but really, how much is this actually raising for you?
Sure, no, that's the exciting part, is that we've been around. We're going on our 11th year as a fundraising program for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And every year we have around 50,000 people participate, and about 70% of those people who do raise funds or try to raise funds, they're live streaming. Give you an idea, last year we raised over $13.5 million for our local hospitals across North America. It's 170 hospitals in the U.S. and Canada, including Puerto Rico. And throughout the lifetime of our program, we've raised over $55 million, and we don't really show signs of stopping. We were recently just nominated, or not nominated, but we won the award of the fastest growing peer-to-peer fundraising program for nonprofits through the peer-to-peer professional forum this year. And again, we're climbing that chart. People are wanting some other way to give back, and using their favorite hobby is kind of the best way for them to get involved.
And just for some flavor, you're referring to eSports, and the growth of this is astronomical. This year, various reports saying that it will top $1 billion in revenue. Economies are entirely built around this. And what's interesting is that it seems like regardless of the point of interest of game, right? Like whether you're doing like a Clash of Clans or a Fortnite or a fill in the blank, you are allowing people to add this donate button and make, it's gaming for a cause, and it's benefiting these networks of hospitals, and it's, it seems to be just printing money for you all.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, it doesn't matter, whether they're playing things competitively. It doesn't matter if they are live streaming them playing solitaire on their table.
Did somebody actually do that? Did somebody?
Oh, absolutely. People will. Yeah, they will do. Well, okay. So then there's another level to this altogether. Is there's a whole part of just sharing what you're doing, like whether you're playing a game, or whether you're drawing a picture, or whether you're writing a song. All those things have happened to raise funds for our hospital through ExtraLife. The interesting part is when folks begin to incentivize donations, and that's the exciting part. That interactivity. The streamer or the broadcaster will say, if we hit $100 this hour in donations, I will paint that top donor's name on my face, and I will wear it throughout the rest of this marathon stream that I'm doing. And that's just a little thing. They'll eat terrible fruits and foods, and they'll do incredibly embarrassing dances, all in the name of raising funds for their favorite charity. And I can't think of a that's fun to watch. I mean, that is like interactivity between the host and the audience that you don't get with traditional television, and that's why I think this works so well.
It seems I'm starting to understand it, but I think it's important to note the genesis of this. And I was on, obviously on your site, and this starts in 2008. So this is not like an overnight sensation, though it seems that there's an acceleration of fundraising. Can you talk to me a little bit about how this, fire was really sort of grown?
Absolutely. So in 2008, one of our founder of ExtraLife, he met a young woman named Victoria Enman. And Victoria Enman was sick with a form of leukemia. She was stuck in the hospital a lot. Now, Jeremy Adams was a part of our Radiothon, which is it's another fundraising device through Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And he met Victoria and was inspired by her energy and her life, but he saw that she needed something to do in the hospital. So he was an avid gamer, and he actually had a podcast of his own. It was called Sarcastic Gamer, and he rallied his community to send toys and video games to Victoria and to her hospital in Houston, Texas Children's Hospital in Houston. It was overwhelming. I mean, they've received so many toys they didn't know what to do with, to the point where Victoria had to take the toys and deliver them to the kiddos herself throughout the hospital. And that was this, this kind of kid that she was. And it began, I think Jeremy began to realize that there was something there. There was something about tapping into the passion that the gaming community has and redirecting it towards doing something good. So the following years, it began to incubate into an actual fundraising, a tool for that hospital. And then eventually Children's Miracle Network Hospitals saw it as this incredible opportunity and program, and then brought it to the entirety of the network. Really, it's year after year of exponential growth. It's so much fun. It's so exciting. And every year people begin to fundraising earlier. They fundraise more money each year. So it's a beast. It's this community of big-hearted gamers that I don't think we could ever stop.
Yeah, it seems like the flywheel is going. And, we'll come back to, I really want you thinking also about how an average nonprofit out there might enter into this, because clearly if you are among the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, you are in a very good place because this engine has been built to benefit a very focused community, which actually makes it a very clean narrative with regard to that. But I want you to help us understand that, like, look, if I started playing, Minecraft right now and started raising funds, like, I think, like, maybe my mom would watch, but only in the hopes that, like, my daughter might make a guest appearance, right? Talk to me about approaching influencers in the gaming community.
Right, and that's a hot topic for most nonprofits is how do we engage these influencers regardless of level of influence, whether they have a couple hundred people in their community or they have tens of thousands. There's some folks who are more gated than others, but what it comes down to is they all exist in a public space, and so it's a matter of finding those people who would have that connection to your cause. Takes a little bit of digging, but you watch them. You actually watch them, show up to their streams, follow them on Twitter, and say, you look like somebody who might be interested in this particular cause, and you reach out to them and you begin that conversation. Because more often than not, they're going to want to be a part of what you want, of what you're doing. You just have to find, that connection, that the power of the impact of fundraising and how that would affect your particular nonprofit, in hopes of that resonates with that particular influencer or broadcaster.
And so it sounds like a real ground game, similar to the way we approach donors, where we have to go to the community. And in this case, it sounds like you're suggesting I go and sort of march through the worlds of Twitch and be like, oh, this person. Is that, is that where we're getting at here?
Well, I think so. I think that, you're going to see a high level of influencers who are doing tremendous things. You'll have Ninja, and for anybody who knows, he's one of the top streamers for the game Fortnite you mentioned earlier, raising millions of dollars for charity. And you'll see that these people are very well supported through their networks. They have sponsorships and partnerships with brands, and those folks are going to be like celebrities. They're going to be like what we consider a traditional celebrity, but they have a direct tie into the community that's going to be motivated by what they're going to be doing in the first place. And there's different levels of that. So yeah, I think that you're right. I think going in and finding these folks who are streaming on a regular basis is definitely a good first step. I think conversely, though, something that's unique about our program, about ExtraLife, is that we've built up a community that is not only surrounds. They might rally around a particular game or title or video game console or style of game or streamer or what have you, but the cause that they all agree upon is important to them is our cause. And there's a lot of bleed over between the gaming industry and what we do, and we kind of get the best of those communities. Whether you like to play Minecraft or whether you like to play Fortnite, a lot of those folks get inspired by being able to help out their local community, and they rise to the top. And then we get to kind of skim those really awesome charity streamers, charity gamers off the top and bring them into our community. And then they, again, support each other. And it's kind of this ongoing process of creating the best charity gamers in the industry. And I think that that's what we've been doing for the past 10 years.
Yeah, and it's, kudos to the organization for paying attention to what started as a spark and staying with it and building it. And anyone jealous, like, you know what? The best time to plant a redwood was 20 years ago, and I think that's what we're looking at. And the second best is today. And when we look at it and we're saying, like, okay, you're talking about $50 million or $13 million being raised yesterday. You mentioned Ninja, who I think broke some record in like a 4-hour stream raising $1 million. What is the distribution? Like, give us a visual of, is it is it a power law where 5%, 10% of these streamers are raising 90% of the funds, or is it more distributed long tail?
No, that's going to be a case of the just sheer numbers. Is if you look at our 50,000 folks who typically fundraise for us throughout the year, we'll have some folks who really do stand out. People and brands who've really taken to the cause. So a good example of that is our friends over at Rooster Teeth. And if you don't know who Rooster Teeth is, they produce a lot of maybe not suitable for work content, but they have a direct connection with their local Children's Miracle Network hospital in Austin, which happens to be Dell Children's Medical Center. And they were inspired by what we do. And each year they raise over $1 million, and they inspire their community to raise $1 million. So they're kind of the outlier. By and large, the majority of our funds are raised by that one person who may or may not be live streaming. And that's kind of the beauty of our program. You don't have to live stream. A lot of them do. A lot of our participants do. But you can also host an event. You can have a game night with your friends and family. You can cover the pizzas, and everybody donates to your participant page. Really, it's one part marathon, one part DIY, and all parts, traditional fundraising. And that's where a lot of our funds come in. It's people making that ask and making the case for children's health in their community.
So can you give me, and I totally understand if you can't, give me an idea of the median amount raised by a stream or an event?
Yeah, that would be for the average streamer raises. Okay, there's a couple of different categories. So we have what we call our classic folks, and they just sign up and they just fundraise, and then we have people we call them platinum participants. They pay a little bit of a fee, and then they get some incentives. They get some ExtraLife swag throughout the year whenever they hit certain milestones. So those folks tend to raise, and actually I'm glad that you're asking me that. I should have had that right in front of me. Hold on one second. I'm so
sorry. To be
sorry.
fair, you're such a sport because I love putting people on the spot and be like, obviously here's some deep data dive questions that you should know off the top of your head. The point, and while I sort of give you some time to look this up, the point I'm getting at is I love that it's not just the big heroes, right? We see in the news of like, if we were dialing it back a decade, it was like, oh yeah, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie give away a ton of money. Like, just go find a celebrity and ask for a lot of money. That is not what I'm seeing when I hear 50,000 people in a community working to raise money. I'm interested in the long tail. I'm interested in micro influencers. I'm interested in engaging the digital natives that are growing up and not being asked. There's a whole opportunity because we're like, oh, young people don't have money is an outdated assumption.
I think that's fair, and thanks for giving me that segue and that breathing space.
And now drum roll,
and then the anticipation of that. You really built it up, but I think you absolutely nailed it. Is that our program it's a lot of people come together to make sure that there's funds raised for their hospitals. So to give you an idea, so the average fundraiser, we'll call them the not hardcore fundraiser who doesn't pay that small fee to get a T-shirt. They raise about over $130 on average each year. Now that adds up. That's a big ask, and that's a lot of money for somebody to ask for in terms of a participant. Now, those hardcore folks, those dedicated people that we see year after year, that we retain about 65% of our active fundraisers year over year, and that's pretty dang incredible whenever you look at the peer-to-peer market. And each year, those folks come back and they raise more.
I feel like you have to say this again. What is your retention rate?
Sure. So you could say about 50% of our folks actually raise funds. So on a given year, so roughly between like 22 to 25,000 folks will actually make at least $1, right? But out of those folks who do raise money, about 65% of them come back the following year. And if we get them back after that first year, we more or less have them for a very long time, if not for quote unquote lifetime. And then every year they'll raise exponentially more money than they did the year before because they use the tools we provide. They get more savvy. They start live streaming. They know how to make that fundraising ask better than they did when they first started. So to give you a sense of like that, those folks who come back year over year, they're more likely to plop down that fee, to buy a T-shirt, to get that not buy a T-shirt, but to get that T-shirt unlocked, to get the swag. They will raise an average of $713 for the course of their campaign. And again, to your point, these are just people. I mean, not that influencers and broadcasters aren't people, but these are people in your communities and our communities who really want to make change for good, and they just happen to be doing it through gaming.
This is incredible because you're crushing all manner of retention numbers and giving numbers. And you know why I think fewer people aren't doing it, and I want your answer to this. I think fewer people aren't doing it is because we are a slightly older generation that, one, just doesn't get why on earth someone would watch and then also give through a game. Two is because this is the fastest growing market, eSports in general, out there, and this is just taking a fraction of it for giving. And I think we're having a hard time as professionals in the nonprofit fundraising community. We're having a hard time moving from the peer-to-peer fundraising of old school, like, all right, we're going to go out there do our turkey trot, we're going to go out there do our 5Ks, our bike-a-thons, our pumpkins for Parkinson's and whatnot, and I think that's a gap. Clearly, you're filling that. What is your sense on why adoption has been slower than it could be?
Why adoption across the nonprofit sector?
Like, why isn't everyone running around doing this?
Right. I think that you hit on it, is that there is a sense of what's familiar is safe, and year over year we've raised those funds through our endurance, through our gala, or what have you. But there's a lot of overhead with those, and those things are getting expensive, and we're starting to see those folks have a decline in participation and in donations. I think that it's scary. I think it's scary to say, okay, general public, go speak about our cause and ask for funds, and you kind of you take a little bit of a chance to put those talking points in the hands of the participants to, in a sense, represent what you're trying to do. So messaging needs to be clear. Your talking points need to be clear and to the point. Ideally, you find somebody who resonates with that, or you find a community that resonates with that, and they just take what you're trying to do and run with it. And if it happens to be with gaming, great. I think if you take a look at the live streaming phenomenon as it is, it doesn't have to be gaming. I mean, there's people who literally just have talk shows all day on Twitch and on YouTube, on Facebook, on Facebook Live. There are people who interact with audiences consistently.
So I need to jump in here because this is important, right? I need to jump in because we're talking about two channels of communication, and you pinned it. And where I want to go with this is that certainly one channel is the video. I'm playing some inane game, running around trying to collect all the things for the stuff. The other channel is the narrative. Now, when people are streaming on behalf of the Children's Miracle Network hospitals, how much of that narrative is actually like awareness building and talking about the cause versus like, I just totally pwned that guy?
I think it'll vary, but I think because They're streaming because they find that connection. Because these are kids and young people in their communities, and there is inevitably one person who has that connection to their hospital. If you give a sense of, like, 1 in 10 kids in North America are treated at our hospitals, so it's a pretty good chance that you or someone you know has been affected by the care given at one of our hospitals across the network. So that's that local connection, that local the power of that local storytelling that really hits home. And then they can take that narrative of saying, well, I don't know this kid, but this kid lives down the street from me, or this kid's in my town, and this is what's happened to them, and this is their story, and this is why we need to fund, our local children's hospital. So I think it's that connection. I think that we also want to see where that money goes. And through ExtraLife, I think one of the most exciting parts of it is 100% of the funds raised through the participants' fundraising goes back to that local hospital, the hospital of their choice, and they use it for the area of greatest need. So that's also another exciting thing. We don't ask them to earmark their money for anything. They spend it how they see fit and how they need to spend it for the kids in their community.
I think that's an important note, especially in our attention economy, to realize there's so much opportunity there. It excites me personally, and this is super helpful. Lou, I'm going to give you the option. We can either do a pro versus con on e-gaming fundraising, or we can put you on the spot for coming up with pitches for gamers on behalf of various types of nonprofits. Which direction? Choose your own adventure.
Oh, that's great. And that's perfect. I love that. I love choices. I love the choose your own adventure. I'm going to have to go with the pitches. That's interesting to me because it's scary. I'm not comfortable with that, and I always believe do something that scares you. So I'm going to, and I'm terrible at improv, so I'm going to just
So you're playing to your strength. Are you prepared? So here's the context. Okay. I'm going to give you basically a nonprofit, give you a little concept around it, and then you have to craft the ask to the gamer, maybe even the type of game, or how you'd move that forward, including, or maybe not limited to, saying like, all right, how we make it into the online gaming fundraiser. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We'll muddle through it. If not, I'll go back and go do the other one.
And it's time to feed the whales with a quick ad. Did you know that 83% of the people on average, according to M&R, that go to your donate page do not give? Check your doctor. Results may vary, but people leave your donate page at a staggering level. GetLighthouse.io allows you to create a list of emails that went to that donate page but didn't necessarily give, allowing you to send a note, a follow-up saying, hey, how can I help you give? It connects to Google Analytics and MailChimp to add this functionality to your existing site. Go check it out at getlighthouse.io, and back to our show. All right, I'm going to start with the One Love Foundation. The One Love Foundation helping end relationship violence, increasing emotional intelligence in young people in relationships. 1 in 3 young people for women are going to be abused some way in a relationship growing up. 1 in 4 men. So this is a macro issue affecting young people. And again, they're doing on-the-ground work with... I'm vamping, by the way, to give you time to think about this. But they're on the ground in actual schools with these conversations about the topic. What would be your approach?
So my approach would be finding, first of all, focusing in on gaming that is cooperative and that is relatively non-violent specifically. And there's definitely plenty of games where you can play together between 2 people in a group and have that be the format, because for an organization that wants to help eradicate violence, the last thing you probably want is to have like an assortment of extraordinarily violent games, promoting their particular cause. So I think that as a platform, having games being played together with other people on a live stream would be really engaging. So there's one particular game that You can play Mario Party, and people will argue Mario Party is a game where you play with each other and against each other. It typically ends in being very fun-spirited, but in the end, there's a lot of collaboration that needs to happen in order for objectives to be met when you're actually playing the game. And I think that's tied into kind of like the pitch, is that we need to come together to end domestic violence to work towards that goal.
I'd throw in a wild card. I'd go after the best players like the ninjas on Fortnite and challenge them to win a match without firing a single shot. And they would maybe have to do it in a group mode, but...
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I also love those challenges, and you're on it to it. You got it. You picked it up. Just finding that.
All right, Lou. Next one. Here we go. World Animal Protection. World Animal Protection is an international nonprofit animal welfare organization that has been in operation for over 30 years. The charity describes its vision as a world where animal welfare matters and animal cruelty has ended.
Amazing. Okay, this one for a second. So there's a lot of interactions and integrations that you can involve your chat in. And so there can be some form of way for folks to maybe instruct the streamers to do certain things, even like a live stream, with maybe interacting or playing with the pets or playing with the maybe some animals live in studio. Or there's also the opportunity for the chat to affect the outcome of whatever game they may be playing. So that might be a fun way for the chat to engage and affect and interact, and thereby hopefully increase donations being made to the live stream.
All right, my wild card would be to challenge Minecrafters to build a Noah's Ark or a massive humane farm. Or a zoo of types.
George, you're much better at this than I am. I'm embarrassed.
Well, I'm going second, and I made up the game. So rule number 1, never play a game where the other guy just makes up all the rules. Like, step 1. All right, Lou, next up. Are you ready? Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
here we go.
Sure.
AmeriCares. AmeriCares is a nonprofit disaster relief and global health organization providing immediate response to emergency medical needs and supporting long-term healthcare initiatives for people in the United States and around the world.
All right. See, now you got me thinking. I see your tricks. You're very crafty, sir.
The worst.
So this is AmeriCares?
AmeriCares, correct. And this is a nonprofit disaster relief, constantly responding to disasters going on around the world, raising funds when they matter most.
Okay. Yeah, not to play on the Minecraft, because it's so easy to go towards Minecraft because it's versatile. But I would say creating special shelters for any person participating in that particular Minecraft session in honor of funds being raised for those folks in greatest need.
Lou, are you ready for the wild card? You're going to be so frustrated.
I am going to be frustrated, but that's okay.
All right.
I'm learning so much. Go for it.
I would go with Clash Royale, and I would challenge people to play marathon sessions when only using naturally disaster like lightning strikes or fireballs to win these games.
Wow. It's almost as if you had these planned ahead of time.
I promise you, I probably didn't. All righty. I'm going to give you just one more because it's really funny to me. PowerPoetryorg, and I'm a personal lover of this one. I'm the co-founder of this organization. PowerPoetryorg is the largest online platform creating a safe, creative place for young people to share poetry and to learn about the craft, helping with emotional expression and acquisition of literacy. What are we doing?
Wow. I'm thinking that there is an opportunity here for a Just Dance marathon where you are dancing and reciting the top picks of poetry to be expressed during a live stream of folks dancing to the popular game Just Dance.
Alrighty, are you ready, Lou, for the wild card?
No. Go ahead.
You're kind of ready, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right. poems for poning. So you have somebody go through a game like Fortnite or a first-person shooter, and here's the thing: every time you pwn someone, you have to share a poem.
I love it. Wow, you've just given me like 4 best practices that I didn't have before.
Well, you chose the adventure, and Lou, you've been such a good sport, man. I'm so excited. I actually want to like just stop right now because I've had so much fun. But we always end on a pro versus con game. Again, we always end on a rapid fire. Forget pro con. You pass that over. Rapid fire. But before we move into rapid fire, Lou, I'm going to give you a chance to just sort of like, the audience listening. Any final statements on what you think online gaming means and can mean?
Online gaming is an incredible way for the participant, and in our case, the fundraising participant, to live out their hopes and dreams as a hero. They constantly going on journeys when they're playing games to unlock the level, to gain the great power, to save the village or the people within this virtual world. And ExtraLife is a way for them to take that virtual training and actually apply it to people in real life who do need their help.
Rapid fire. Keep your responses to about 30 seconds or so. Are you ready?
Yes.
Doesn't matter. What is one tech tool or website that you or your organization has started using in the past year?
We have just adopted and unlocked Facebook fundraising for our ExtraLife campaign. This has been something we've been working on and working towards for so long, and finally we've been able to add this as yet another tool for folks to raise funds for their local children's hospital.
What is a tech issue that you're currently battling with?
Always looking for a seamless integration for the ExtraLife experience. So regardless of how or where or when the funds are raised, making sure that participant has the best experience possible, as constantly looking for best ways to collect those funds and apply them to those campaigns to continue stewarding those relationships for our top participants.
What is coming in the next year that has you the most excited?
Our program is growing. So after this last year at E3, which is the largest electronics expo in North America, or one of the largest ones in North America, we're seeing an incredible growth with endemic partnerships within the gaming sphere, and I think we're just going to knock it off the roof this year. So you're going to see us become much more of a household name, at least in those households that have video games.
Talk about a mistake that you made earlier in your career that shapes the way you do things now.
It has less to do with peer-to-peer fundraising, but I have a theater background, and I remember I was very interested in the creation of props as a property master for plays. And I had an opportunity to go on tour with the first national tour of The Lion King. And I listened to my mentor who said I would hate it, and I didn't go. And so I think that the lesson I learned from that was not to be afraid, to take a chance, to be brave, and to really listen to your own voice and your own instinct moving forward.
Do you believe that nonprofits can successfully go out of business?
Successfully go out of business? That's an interesting phrase. I think if they're not willing to follow the trends, if they're not willing to look at their data, then absolutely. I think that you need to be able to have a degree of agility within this industry to stay relevant.
If I could toss you in the hot tub time machine, send you back to the beginning of your work with ExtraLife, what advice would you give your younger, less gamed self?
It's similar to my previous answer, but take more chances and, temper that experience with a little more risk taking, and hopefully round out those skill sets as we, as a fundraising professional.
What is something you think that your organization should stop doing?
Well, I know my organization is Children's Miracle Network Hospitals is set up to really value innovation and success and move things forward. I think that's something that I need to do to make myself a better fundraiser, is to begin to eliminate that nagging voice of self-doubt and know that the choices that we're making are sound, and that that some doubt is good, but all-consuming doubt can be really crippling. So that's probably what I would change.
If you had a Harry Potter style wand to wave across the industry, what would it do?
Okay, so the gaming industry or the nonprofit sector?
Ooh, one for each.
So for the gaming industry, I would love our storytellers in the gaming industry to be able to tell the stories that they want to tell without a lot of fear of rejection. I think that the gaming culture has a tendency to be really reactive to the stories being told. I would like to see that kind of just get a little bit easier for our storytellers. I think for nonprofits, I would love it to be a lot easier for us to cross collaborate where it makes sense. Whether it's locally, whether it's tax laws or legality, or if it's international. I think that in the end, finding ways for us to elevate each other, it just make us better at what we need to do.
How did you get started in the social impact sector?
I was first involved in nonprofit arts. I was a fledgling actor who asked the world to let him work in theater no matter what the cost, and the universe did just that. I worked every job across the face of the nonprofit arts sector, and then I had a kid. I had a kiddo, and I wanted to do good for my local community, and I literally found ExtraLife for Children's Miracle Network Hospitals on a Facebook ad of all things. I clicked on it, became a participant, and then years later became the person I am now.
What advice would you give college grads currently looking to enter this social impact sector?
Don't have doubt. This is a fulfilling career path, and you can make a career out of it. But you have to be kind to yourself and focus on what moves the needle for you versus constantly wearing all the hats. And I think that's something that those of us in the nonprofit world tend to do. We tend to stress out about covering all the bases. Begin to curate that skill that allows you to focus in on exactly what needs to get done to make sure that the work gets done.
All right, Lou, thank you so much. Final question. How do people find you? How do people help you?
Folks can visit extra-life.org to find out more, to register to become a gamer, to play games, and to heal kids.
Yeah, and I will second that. Please put this on your homework, even if you're a fundraiser at a nonprofit. Learn by doing. Jump into this, raise a few bucks, see how it works. I mean, come on, you're supporting hospitals, so you're going to do well, do good, and learn some things. So extra-life.org. Lou, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This has been Using the Whole Whale. For more resources on today's show, please visit wholewhale.com/podcast and consider following us on Twitter @wholewhale. And thanks for joining us.